Jaylen Brunson is on my list. Is he on the top 10 Basketball Reference MVP tracker list? He's not. He is not on that list. What are his odds in Vegas? 250 to 1. Don't place a bet on Jaylen Brunson being MVP. Here's the thing about MVP. We're halfway through the season. And if you're number 10 on the most likely to be MVP list, you're probably not going to be MVP. Because it's too far into the season, and number 10 isn't going to cut it. There's never been an MVP race that has been so tight that there's a guy that's in 10th that still could get it halfway through the season. His play must be acknowledged, though. Because the Knicks are good, but again, he has to share points per game with a lot of dudes. There's a lot of guys that can score on that team, you know. Mainly Karl Anthony Towns. He might be on this list too. I don't know. I do know. But you're going to find out later. He's only missed one game. Knicks are third in the East at the time of recording. So, I'm thinking second team NBA, all NBA for Jaylen Brunson, right? That's sort of probably where he ends up. Does he get MVP votes? I think so. Should there be MVP votes? Should it just be a math calculation? So could we all the people that know, should they just vote on a math equation? Instead of voting for MVP, could they all vote on a math equation where they all agree, okay, that's a good math equation, this amount of rebounds, this many team wins, this amount of usage, this amount of on-off numbers. I'm good with that. So everyone decides, yeah, that's a good calculation. I like it. And then at the end of the season, there's no deliberation. It's just like, okay, what's the calculator say? Oh, Jaylen Brunson, MVP. That's what the calculator says. That's who the MVP is. I don't think people would like that. I think we like to debate it. I think people like narratives too much. I have some narrative stuff coming up on the show. So, what would Jaylen Brunson need to be the MVP? New York would have to finish with the best record in the East. So they'd have to beat Cleveland, which I don't think they're going to do unless Cleveland... I have this feeling that... Cleveland lost to Oklahoma City Thunder, so now they have 6 losses. I have this hunch that they're going to lose... I have this hunch that the back half of the season isn't going to be as good as the front half of the season. And I know that's like very simple to say just because it's been such an incredible first half of the season. To match it with the back end would be highly unlikely. So, could the Knicks outdo Cleveland? Could they get to the first in the East? Sure, anything's possible, but it's unlikely. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is Jaylen Brunson's not going to be MVP. So let's move on. Damonte Sabonis, I have to put on the list. I understand. I think, am I wrong that the most polarizing player in the NBA would be Damonte Sabonis? You either love him or you hate him. You might not like him because you're like, the Kings aren't good. The Kings are trash, even though they just beat the Rockets. I think the Kings are good. You know what's crazy about the Kings is I think everyone in basketball media was very much on the side of Mike Brown. Like, can you believe how the Kings fired Mike Brown? He did so much for that team. He got them to the playoffs. They had such a long playoff drought. And now Doug Christie's the coach and everyone is kind of saying, oh, maybe Mike Brown's the problem. Maybe Mike Brown's the reason they were losing. He definitely lost the locker room. I think I might have talked about this. I have to sort of pre-record stuff, so I've already talked about this, but Damonte Sabonis is a great player. I was watching him play tonight. Excellent rebounder. He's leading the league in rebounds, shooting 47% from 3. I think him and Jokic have the highest three-point percentages in the league, which is interesting. Again, they don't shoot that many threes. Damonte is only shooting 2.4 a game. So, he will not be MVP just because the Kings aren't good enough, unfortunately. And, you know, he's not that good. But he is great. He is great. I think he should be All-NBA. Second team All-NBA. But I do think we are sleeping on the greatness of Damonte Sabonis. Two things can be true at the same time. It can be impossible for Damonte Sabonis to win an MVP, and he can still be a great player. Right? So I had to look up odds for him for winning MVP. I had to like really dig to find someone that had odds. And he's 500 to 1, meaning you could win $500 if you bet $1. I'd take that bet. And he is on the Basketball Reference MVP tracker list. He did make it. He's 8th. He has a 1.1 probability of winning the MVP, according to Basketball Reference. And typically, the Basketball Reference MVP ends up being the MVP. Someone wanted to see my cat. This is what my cat looks like. So, it could happen. He's only missed 3 games. And the Kings could make their way up the West. It won't happen. I put AD on the list. Again, I really looked through a lot of numbers, and I think he deserves to be 8th. Again, probably not going to win. What he would need to win is LeBron would actually have to get injured. He would have to get injured and be out for a large portion of the season, and the Lakers would still have to get to 3rd in the West, which is a very unlikely story. A very narrative-driven MVP. It's unlikely. 25.8 points per game and 11.9 rebounds. He has the 5th most rebounds in the league. He is having a really great season, and he's only missed 2 games. This is the interesting thing to me, because those seasons where AD was out for long periods of time and the Lakers weren't good, we always sort of thought, well, if AD had been there, they might have won a championship. I don't think that's true. I think he brings up the potential of the team a lot, but not as much as we think. Again, he's not on the list, and his odds are 500-1 to win MVP. So it's highly unlikely, because the team is 6th in the West as of now, as of the time of recording. So doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I like AD, though. Darius Garland's on my list. Again, OKC beat the brakes off Cleveland. So I think the darling team is becoming Oklahoma City. I'm still putting Darius Garland on my list because he's basically 50-40-90. He's 49% field goal percentage, 42% from 3, and 90% from the free throw line. Definitely underrated. He didn't get in the guards list on the East for the All-Star game. Did I vote? No, I didn't. And I'll be honest, I feel guilty about not voting for Darius Garland for the All-Star game. So I saw the 3rd and final results for the voting, and I saw that Darius Garland wasn't on there. And I felt bad that I didn't contribute to his voting. Again, it'll fade, but... So for him to win, Cleveland would need to, and again, they have 6 losses now, so it's probably not happening. I think, was it 9 and 70? Did 73 and 9? Is that what the Golden State Warriors went? So it's highly unlikely. But let's say the Cleveland Cavaliers did break the best season of all time record. And if I think they did, and Darius Garland had a 50-40-90 season, could he win MVP? Sure. I think that's possible. Excellent player, Darius Garland. I'm a Darius Garland glazer, but I don't care enough to actually vote for him for All-Star. Embarrassing. I'm ashamed of myself. Cat's on the list. Another Nick with Jaylen Brunson. They sort of cancel each other out in a way. There's really no definitive leader on that team in terms of scoring, in terms of talent level. I think Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns are about the same. 25.4 points a game. Brunson's actually averaging more points per game. Again, second in rebounds is Karl Anthony Towns. Does that bring him up? Yeah, makes him better. It does. Second in rebounds. Good for you, Karl Anthony Towns. Still doing... I think one thing you have to accept about Karl Anthony Towns, people talk about the dumb fouls that he does. He'll get frustration fouls. Even the other night, he set a screen and got an offensive foul. And you saw it, and yeah, there was just a little too much sauce on the screen. Like, yeah, you can't hit him that hard. I think that's something that you need to accept about Karl Anthony Towns. You can say, this guy's awesome. He's a great player. We love having him on our team. But he's going to foul in very dumb ways, and he's going to ruin games at times. Again, does the benefit of having an excellent scoring and rebounding center on your team cancel out the fact that sometimes he's going to foul at really bad times? I think so, of course. So that's going to be who he is through the rest of his career, and I think that's fine. Nobody is perfect, is really what I'm trying to say. So if NYC does pass Boston, Karl Anthony Towns starts getting 30 points per game. If he finishes the season with 30 points per game, and shoots 50% from three. Right now he's at 44% from three, almost 45% from three. If he can bring that up, if he can just sort of be this Steph Curry-like three-point shooter and get 30 points per game and still maintain his his rebounding, Karl-Anthony Towns is your NBA MVP. It's very unlikely, though. He is on the Basketball Reference MVP tracker at 3%. 3% chance. The probability of him winning, according to Basketball Reference, is 3%. And he's the third highest on that list. That tells you how much it's a race between the other two guys. No one else is relevant, is really what I'm trying to say. No one else, it doesn't matter. His Vegas odds are 250 to 1. Place a dollar bet, win $250. I swear, that's what it means. So it's probably not happening. Don't waste your $1. You will not win $250. Donovan Mitchell, he was not on the Basketball Reference list. I put him on here. I felt like he deserved it. There were a lot of Cleveland Cavaliers. Go to the Basketball Reference MVP tracker. It's fun. If you watch this show, you're probably the type of dork that would get into that. You're a dork like me. I check that thing at least once a week. I don't know why I do, but I do. Go look at it. If you're not paying attention to that, I think you'll get some real joy out of it. But there's a lot of Cleveland Cavaliers on a list of 10. Jarrett Allen is on it. Darius Garland is on it. And Evan Mobley is on it. Donovan Mitchell is not on the list. And it's a math equation. So there's something about his game that's not putting him on the list. I don't know what it is. He's only missed 2 games. His Vegas odds are 251, just like Karl-Anthony Towns. I don't get it. He's shooting 9.1 threes a game at 40%. That's a lot of three-point shots. It's so many three-point shots that people might say, hey, cool it, if you're not shooting 40%, which he is. And 2.1 turnovers a game, that's the lowest amount of anyone on our list. So I think he's having a really great season. Again, not crazy points per game, 23.1. It's not wild, but I don't know. I think maybe that some of the Cleveland juice has wore off a little bit since they lost to the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Oklahoma City Thunder handled them pretty handily. I may have drank a little bit earlier. Cleveland have to break the all-time scoring wins record for Donovan Mitchell. So this would be the case that Cleveland breaks the all-time best season ever record, all-time wins record, okay? And then Darius Garland does not end the season with 50, 40, 90. Donovan Mitchell is your NBA MVP. Again, unlikely scenarios. So Donovan Mitchell is 5th, but I do not think he's going to win the MVP. I have to put him on here. I know. Tatum has no fans. There's like 4 guys in Boston that love Tatum, but I don't think he has as many fans as Pascal Siakam does. Me and a couple guys from Cameroon. For some reason, I don't know what. Help me out here. Why is Tatum? I think it's just his post-game interviews, the way he talks. He seems like a nice guy, and he plays hard, and he plays in basically every game. He's only missed 3 games this season. I should love him. I want to love him, but my heart's not in it. My passion for Jayson Tatum. And I think a lot of people feel that way. But I gotta respect the hell out of him. He's 5th in the MVP trackers. 2% chance of him winning the MVP. It's probably not happening. Celtics lost to Toronto. That didn't help anyone's case for MVP on that team. So, what could he do to win? Okay. Boston passes Cleveland, which they probably can't do. They're quite a few games back. They could do. No, it's possible. They could do it. So if Tatum, he's at 27.7 points per game right now. I think leading is sort of back and forth between Jokic and Shai at like 31 point whatever it ends up being at the end of the night, because it's so close between the two of them. If Tatum can tell Brown and tell Porzingis to pass him the ball on every play, and so he can break the scoring title, I think Jayson Tatum might be your MVP. Again, it's unlikely, and Boston would have to basically finish first in the East for that to happen. So it could happen. It could definitely happen. So it's just unlikely. And that's why he's 4th on my list. Giannis, people are sleeping on Giannis. So Giannis, of everyone on this list that I would actually think has the opportunity to win the NBA MVP, it's this guy and the 2 guys that come after him on the list. Jayson Tatum is not winning the MVP. Donovan Mitchell is not winning the MVP. None of the guys before are, but I need a list of 10. Giannis could actually do it. Giannis actually, I think he is leading the league in scoring. No, he's second. He's second in scoring right now. So 31.3 points per game, 6th in rebounds, and 60% from the field. That's good. If you don't know what a good field goal percentage is, 60% from the field is really good. Giannis, unlike Sabonis and Jokic, is not a good three-point shooter. He doesn't really shoot them. He's not even shooting 1 a game. And if he does shoot it, 16%. So that is a part of his game that I think a lot of players are sort of working on that are similar to Giannis. And I think it's okay to say, I'm just not going to shoot threes. That's just not going to be my game. I'm going to be good at other things. I'm going to be exceptional at basically everything else. And I'm just not going to stand out of the perimeter. I think you can do that and still be one of the greatest players of all time, right? You don't have to you can be a specialist. You don't have to be a generalist. I think it's fine. So, could Giannis win? I do think so. What would he need? He'd need more wins, more rebounds, more games played, and more points than Nikola Jokic. That's what he needs. Because he doesn't have the assists that Nikola Jokic does. So he's basically going to be put in this position where if you look at them statistically, he needs to outdo him in every category because he's not going to make up for an assist. And he's also going to need to outdo him in wins. The Bucks are going to have to win more games than the Nuggets. Then we can talk about MVP. But then he's still got to compete with Shai for MVP. Again, it's not out of the question. They're at the time of recording, they're 4th in the East. So he's 4th on the MVP tracker. Interesting. Who was 3rd? Who did I say was 3rd? It was Cat. I don't need to go back. It was Cat. So Giannis could do it. 22-1 odds. Now we're getting into where people in Las Vegas are actually placing bets on Giannis Antetokounmpo's MVP potential. So, but he's missed 6 games, and that's a problem. That's quite a few games. There's another guy on this list that's missing quite a few games. I didn't realize Giannis had missed that many games. So, I think Giannis is going to meet the criteria. He's going to play 65 games, but if you're going up against a guy like... Oh, I moved him. If you're going up against a guy like Shai, who's missed, I think, 1 game, it's going to matter. If you've missed 10, 11, 12 games during the season, again, you do qualify. And ultimately, it's not that many games to miss. But if there's one guy that's been killing it all season, scoring tons of points, and he's missed 1 or 2 games, that guy's going to get MVP. And he deserves it. So Jokic is in the same position because he's missed 6 games. He missed a game because he hurt his elbow during warm-ups. That was so sad. I was ready for the Nuggets game. I was so excited for it. And then I turned it on and he wasn't starting. I was like, what's going on? And then I heard he hurt his elbow. I didn't watch the game. I didn't watch. It is nuts. I love Nuggets games. I love watching Nuggets games. But when he's not playing, when he's sick or he's out, I don't watch them. I'm not interested. I have no hard-on for the Nuggets without Nikola Jokic. Now, when it comes to MVP tracker on Basketball Reference, Jokic is number 1, which sort of makes me feel like he is going to win it, but as probably the person in the world that consumes the most basketball podcasts, I literally have them on all day. Sort of background noise, but I am listening. It seems that the way the wind blowing is more towards Shai. I'm not sure if you guys are hearing this as well, but it does seem like people are so impressed by OKC and Shai's ability to get points that he might get it. The thing is, Jokic does have better stats. Statistically, He won't get it because the team isn't that great and he is missing a lot of games. But the main case for Jokic is he's third in points per game, third in rebounds per game, and second in assists per game. I do not believe that's ever been done before. I don't think anyone's ever finished a season being top 5 in all categories. And not only is he top 5, he's top 3 in all categories. It's very impressive. Do you think the Nuggets are going to make a trade for someone? I don't think the team is good enough. I think Russ is playing really well. I've been very impressed with him. I think Gordon's playing really well, but they need more depth. They need something. So do you think the Nuggets are going to make a trade? Again, I don't believe they have any assets to trade, but do you think they could, I don't know, flip Julian Strawther for, I don't know, just someone for that bench unit? That's sort of what I'm wondering. What does he need to win? He needs to finish third in the West. I think that would be good enough for Jokic to win MVP. So he would need to finish third in the West. Again, his only competition is Shai. And he needs to play as many games as Shai. So if he's third in the West and he plays as many games as Shai, if they end up, let's say, Shai ends up missing 6 games total and Jokic doesn't miss another game, I think Jokic could still win MVP. But I do believe the general sentiment is we want Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to win the MVP this year. That's what it feels like to me. So your odds for Jokic are plus 130. I don't know why, but the site that I used to look up these Vegas odds, it switched. And maybe just because for clarity. So plus 130 means if you were to bet $100 and Jokic wins, you would get $30. I think that's how it works. You get your money back and you get $30. So I think Shai's going to get it. So on the MVP tracker, he's 30%. Again, it's pretty close. And from when I looked at it this afternoon, it might have changed. So Shai might be number 1 on the MVP tracker. His odds are negative 150. You know what that means? That means in order to win $100, you would have to bet $150. So keep that in mind. Vegas is pretty confident that he's going to win the MVP. And that matters because Vegas has skin in the game. They have something to lose. So I think it's going to go to him. Oh, I didn't realize. So Shai has actually not missed any games this season. Man, as much as I love Jokic, I think at this point Shai does deserve it. They're probably first in the league now. I believe at the time of recording, they're tied with Cleveland with the best record in the league. So that means a lot. And it means a lot to me. It's a good team. And he's the best player on it, by far. And the team is good. I'm not discrediting Jalen Williams or anyone, but very impressive guy. So what does he need to do to win? He probably will win. If he just keeps doing the same thing he's doing, he's going to win. And if he keeps doing the same thing he's doing, he's not missing any more games. Pretty impressive. So that's the MVP check-in, sort of where we're at right now when it comes to MVP. So thank you. Be good to your mothers. Eat a corn dog.